how millions of news channels across America are using Filipino English. Now, a lot of you guys have linked this over and actually told me, hey, after the last one where you actually showed some of it, because this video, people say it's a story and stuff and you should check it out, but you might be able to show some proof of that, maybe a little bit. Hey, I think I may have found something, but I'm excited to check this out, man. Let's see this together, yeah? Let's go.
They said Filipino English would never be recognized on a global stage. But today it's quietly shaping how millions of Americans speak, watch, and even teach English across their screens every single day. You might not notice it at first, but the influence is everywhere, from national newsrooms to social media anchors and even AI voice assistants. The sound of clarity, confidence, and warmth that once belonged only to the Philippines is now becoming the new voice of global communication.
I believe it.
But how did this happen? How did the accent that grew in the islands of Southeast Asia become a trusted tone for American news and media? Let's find out. It all begins with a story that stretches more than a century back. When the United States colonized the Philippines in the early 1900s, they didn't just bring military presence, they brought language. Schools across the country began teaching English, not just as a subject, but as a way of life.
Yeah.
The goal was to create a population that could communicate directly with Americans. The result was astonishing. Within just a few generations, the Philippines became one of the most English-fluent countries in the world.
And by the way, I hear them all the time, either whether it be with an accent or sometimes I'm in pure shock when they don't even have that Tagalog accent, right? And I say this all the time with a lot of my Brazilian family members because I'm Brazilian. And when I speak to them, I just know when it's a Brazilian, that accent. And I'm sure you guys agree, even with Filipinos, like, the accent, you're like, hey, then you start speaking to them in Tagalog because you just know. I find that super cool, but what's even cooler is so many of them are very, very good at English to the point where you don't even notice an accent. And for example, I actually show you an example that I actually was linked on TikTok of this, a news anchor, like he's mentioning here in this video, a news anchor kind of just dancing around, but they spoke in the beginning, you'll hear the English sound almost beautiful, fantastic. They're news anchors, Filipinos. Look at this. When two Filipinos fill in on the anchor desk.
Updates on that story coming up.
We'll be right back.
Okay. All right, now they dancing and stuff. Obviously, I'll mute this part because copyright is crazy. But that beginning, bro, and hearing them speak English, even though it's a little bit, and they're just really having fun. This is super wholesome. I won't even lie. This is wholesome. This is like one of those dad things, like the little dance and all that. It's funny, goofy. I like it. And it's so cool to see because Filipinos being able to do that, especially on the news and showing proof of it. Here again, them speaking English right in the beginning.
Updates on that story coming up.
We'll be right back.
Perfect. It's like perfect. And before some people say, oh, Filipino-American, Filipino, it still applies that the point still remains that they're involved in the news anchors and everything like that. So it still applies in that sense. But let's get back to that story, back to the video.
The Philippines became one of the most English-fluent countries in the world. But something special happened along the way. Filipinos didn't just copy American English, they made it their own.
Yeah.
The Filipino style of speaking English carries a rhythm and clarity that make it stand out. It's polite yet confident, warm yet professional. There's something about the way Filipinos enunciate their words that feels sincere, easy to listen to, and remarkably clear. And in today's world where communication happens at lightning speed, clarity is power. That's why Filipino English began to attract global attention. The first big wave came from the call center boom of the early 2000s. When major American companies started outsourcing customer service,
I think it meant 2000s, the AI voice,
to the Philippines, they quickly realized something incredible. American customers actually preferred Filipino agents. Their tone was calm, friendly, and easy to understand. It wasn't just about speaking English, it was about making people feel heard, respected, and valued. Those same traits are exactly what every news channel wants in their anchors: clarity, connection, and trust. As years passed, the Philippines became a global hub for voice-based industries. Radio hosts, podcasters, and online educators from America started collaborating with Filipino voice artists because they delivered something unique.
Of course they collaborated with Filipino artists. That's an of course, right? Isn't that just that one is probably the most obvious of them all. The voices on Filipinos are probably one of the most insanely scary, in a good way, scary good. It's like way too good. Like, what just happened? Why did they just perfectly copy Whitney Houston? What just happened? Why is there a Elvis Presley like replica just sitting in the Philippines? Like, this is the stuff that happens in the Philippines.
Tone that felt global, neutral, and emotionally balanced.
Yeah.
This was when Filipino English started slipping into American media not through force but through admiration. Turn on a random American news segment today and you might notice something interesting. The delivery, the pacing, the way certain words are pronounced. It feels familiar. Words like schedule research and data sound subtly influenced by the Filipino rhythm. Even American anchors who've never been to the Philippines are adopting this smooth, measured tone. Why? Because the media world rewards voices that can speak clearly to everyone, and Filipino English does exactly that, but the influence doesn't stop there. AI companies developing voice systems for global users often train their speech models on Filipino English datasets because of its neutrality. It bridges the gap between Western and Asian accents, making it ideal for global communication. The same voice tone used by millions of Filipinos has become the model for artificial voices that speak to billions.
And actually, that is true. I've actually seen one of my friends, they were showing me like this AI voice thing, because obviously people have their things about AI and all, but one thing that's super cool about it is the way it's able to replicate a voice. And he was showing me it, right? He was like, yo, listen to this. This literally is a Filipino person, because we went to the Philippines together, right? And he was just amazed at how AI literally copied it, because all the people, and he honestly loved all the people that were saying, good morning, sir. Good morning, mom. You know, he loved the accent. He was like, bro, they sound so amazingly comforting. And I agreed. I was like, dude, me too. I love the accent that Filipinos have, that Filipino English. And then because of that, he found this, he showed it to me. I was like, oh my goodness. It sounded exactly like Filipino English, that Tagalog accent to the English being so clear and precise, but has that comforting accent. I don't know, man. It was so dope to see. So I definitely do obviously have experience with that. Like the AIs using it, they do have that. It's crazy.
This means that even when you hear an American-sounding AI reading the news,
Oh, but this
it
too.
might secretly be shaped by Filipino pronunciation patterns. What's even more amazing is how Filipino English has become a form of global soft power without anyone realizing it. Think about this. The Philippines has given the world millions of English-fluent professionals, broadcasters, teachers, and writers. Yet it's the unique sound of their English that's leaving the deepest mark. The tone of kindness, professionalism, and warmth that comes naturally to Filipino speakers is now the gold standard for effective communication. Many American news producers have publicly admitted that when they hire international talent for on-air roles or voice work, they look for that balanced, neutral accent. And guess which accent checks all the boxes? Filipino English.
I believe that.
It doesn't sound too British or too Southern. It's smooth, modern, and carries a global vibe. That's why more and more voice coaches in the US are teaching a neutral accent that sounds strikingly similar to Filipino English without even realizing where it originated. There's also a new wave of Filipino journalists working in American newsrooms. Their success has proven that clarity beats accent bias. Audiences don't care where you're from as long as you deliver the news with honesty and emotion.
That's true.
Filipino anchors bring both. They've turned what was once called a foreign way of speaking into something respected and admired. And that's a quiet revolution happening right under our noses. But let's dig deeper. Why does Filipino English connect so well with people all over the world? It's because language isn't just about words, it's about energy. The Filipino way of speaking is filled with respect. It's not rushed or aggressive. It has a natural empathy that makes the listener feel at ease. When you hear it, you sense warmth, authenticity, and trust.
This is why I was saying, like, the sir, ma'am, they always put that in there and it doesn't even feel forced. It feels so genuine. And bro, I'll keep repeating it because this is exactly why I'm going to go back to the Philippines again. I love that time I was there, man. All the thank you, sir. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon. It's like they don't forget the time because they want to let you know. It's so wholesome, dude. And the accent, really, with the sir and the ma'am, it's amazing.
And in an age when trust in media is fading, that's exactly what audiences crave. This is why so many American content creators from YouTube to TikTok are now collaborating with Filipino voice actors to narrate their documentaries and ads. They're discovering what call center executives knew years ago: the Filipino voice sells, not because it's fancy, but because it feels human. Viewers stay longer when the voice makes them feel understood. If you look closely, you'll see that this trend mirrors a bigger cultural shift. For decades, American English was seen as the standard, but globalization has changed the rules. English is no longer owned by one nation. It's a shared tool, and the Filipino version has proven to be one of the most effective adaptations of it. It bridges East and West while sounding natural to both.
Yeah.
That's something few countries have achieved. Even Hollywood has noticed. Some dialogue coaches now train actors to adopt softer, more international accents for global releases. The subtle patterns they use resemble Filipino English, calm pacing, light intonation, and friendly articulation. In other words, the world is beginning to sound a little bit Filipino, and nobody's complaining.
Hey.
Let's not forget education. Millions of American students now take online English lessons from Filipino teachers every year. These students often end up speaking with the same clarity they hear from their tutors.
Yeah, of course.
And when they grow up to work in media journalism or broadcasting, they carry those same speech habits forward. That's how influence spreads quietly from generation to generation until it becomes part of the mainstream. And there's something poetic about it too. For so long, Filipinos have been known for adapting to Western culture. Now the West is adapting to them. The way they speak, the tone they use, the respect they carry in their words has crossed oceans and entered microphones, studios, and cameras all across America.
And what's awesome too is like we need to also start carrying some other values from Filipinos too, whether it be gratitude and being honestly just grateful, which is gratitude, but being grateful overall. This is one of the craziest things that I've seen, whether it be with typhoons consistently hitting them. And I bring this up all the time because it is one of the most admirable things about the Philippines. The amount of times they get hit, but get back up, right? And as cliche as that's been, and everyone's heard it, hey, get back up. When you fall, get back up. In The Dark Knight, the Batman movie, he says, hey, why do we fall? To get back up, right? Everyone knows this. But Filipinos live that. Literally live that. Typhoons, like over 60 a year, constantly hitting them, flooding, all of this, earthquakes, volcanoes, you name it. All of that, get back up. All of that, get back up. And then they still have the kindness, right? Like you would expect out of all people, like if you go to New York, listen, New York, anyone in New York, y'all know this, okay? I've been to New York multiple times. Those people they're pretty rude. I won't lie. In New York, bro, I don't know why everybody's angry. It's kind of scary sometimes because like you would just see people fighting every single day. There was not one day where somebody wasn't yelling when I was there or something bad was really happening. That's New York for you though, right? But it has its beauties. With that being said, you go to the Philippines, you'd expect, okay, they have the right. I'm not saying that New Yorkers, listen, I am not saying that New Yorkers don't have the right to be mad, okay? I'm just saying they're pretty rude, but you would expect the Philippines to be mad, right? No. It's because it's like the opposite effect happened, right? You'd expect if typhoons was happening to New York, you'd be like, okay, that makes sense why they're rude, right? They're dealing with a lot. But then you go to the Philippines, they're dealing with so much and they're still so kind. They don't want to spread that onto you, that negativity onto you. It's crazy, man. They took it in a different light. They were like, hey, all this bad is happening. So instead of like taking it out on everybody else, how about we learn to live with it? Have gratitude that, hey, today it didn't happen though. Oh, it happened today? Well, tomorrow is another day. Like that's their outlook on stuff. And this also applies to maybe the English too. It's crazy how they kind of take it, use these dialects to try and infuse it with some sort of passion, some sort of meaning to it. Like, hey, when I say good morning, sir, I'm not just saying, yo, good morning. Like that, it means like, hey, good morning, sir. Do you need help? Like actually looking at you and talking to you. That's one of the biggest things I noticed when I was there too.
What started as an educational mission during colonial times has turned into a cultural comeback led not by politics, but by pure communication skill. Every time a news anchor delivers a headline with a measured, clear voice, every time an AI assistant speaks in a tone that feels friendly and respectful, every time an American student practices pronunciation with a Filipino tutor, that influence grows stronger. It's subtle but unstoppable. So when you turn on your TV and watch a breaking news story from New York or Los Angeles, listen carefully. You might hear a rhythm that feels strangely familiar, that gentle balance of authority and warmth. That's Filipino English behind the scenes shaping how the world communicates.
That's an awesome, awesome, awesome thing to think about too. Like genuinely such an awesome thing to think about that all of it is like building blocks behind anything that's happening now around the world. You can notice it and pick up on it.
Rise of Filipino English isn't just about accent, it's about identity. It shows how language evolves through empathy and connection. The Philippines didn't push their accent on the world. The world came looking for it because it works. It builds bridges instead of walls. And in a time when the world feels divided, something as simple as the way we speak can bring us closer together.
That's true.
The story of how millions of news channels across America are using Filipino English isn't just about media. It's about how one nation quietly gave the world a voice that feels universal. And maybe that's the beauty of it all. The Philippines didn't need to shout to be heard. Their voice traveled naturally through kindness, hard work, and communication. Now it's part of global media forever.
That's such an awesome video, man. I think the idea that is actually, in a sense, really true when you look at it by witnessing it yourself, right? And even with that little small example of two Filipinos being able to do the news anchor thing, because a lot of you guys linked over to me and said, hey, do you have any like proof of this happening, right? I was like, I don't know. Let me watch this video. And I will say from experience, right, I've noticed a lot of what he said. And now, have I seen them have the Tagalog accent? Not many in news anchors, but I have seen Filipinos be there. And maybe that's for a reason. And one big example, every single time I have something with my phone company, any big company that provides a mobile service provider, it's always a Filipino on the other line. And sometimes they know who I am. It's so cool. And then they're like, oh, are you Vision or Gabriel? I'm like, oh my gosh. This is crazy. So it's super wholesome, and then they're super kind even before knowing who I was too. So it's not the bias thing where they know who I am, that's why they're nice. No. Some of them don't even know, and they're just super kind, try to be super understanding. I guarantee you they deal with so much already day to day, especially on the mobile service providers. There's probably so many people who are so angry calling. It's crazy. So there was a few examples there, but this story was really dope. And from experience, you can see a lot of truths in here. But hey, with that being said, let me know your thoughts. I love you guys. Till next time. Peace. How good you been living? Wait, how good you been living? I've been living too good for you. I've been living too. Did what I did and I do it again. Every move that I make, I ain't feeling repent. Nobody believes to believe it's a friend, and you question your moves like you really won't end. Really?